2010 Honda Civic steering rack assembly, unboxing and install. This kit is a complete rack and includes the inner tie rods as well as boots. Tools required for the steering rack install on a 2010 Civic: 1/2-inch torque wrench, 1/2-inch pneumatic ratchet, 24mm end wrench, 21mm end wrench, 19mm end wrench, long 1/2-inch extension, 1/2-inch ratcheting wrench, ball joint separator, needle nose pliers, 1/2-inch impact, 10mm socket, 14mm socket, 15mm socket, 17mm socket, 22mm socket, 17mm deep socket, 19mm deep socket, and a transmission jack to assist us in lowering the front subframe. Open the hood and set the support rod. Use a 17mm socket on a ratchet to loosen the lug nuts on both front wheels. Pull the carpet away from the firewall and remove the steering input shaft cover. Use a 10mm socket with extension, loosen and remove the bolt, allowing the steering universal joint to come apart. Lift the vehicle. Use a 17mm socket with impact to remove lug nuts and wheels. Use a needle nose pliers to remove the cotter pin on the outer tie rod. Use a 19mm socket with impact to loosen the nut of the outer tie rod. Use the ball joint removal tool with a 22mm socket to remove the outer tie rod. Repeat the process on the other side of the vehicle. Lift the vehicle until you have access to the exhaust. Use a 15mm socket on a long extension to remove the exhaust hardware near the subframe. Then use a 17mm socket on the impact to loosen the lower engine mount bolts. Use a 17mm socket with extension to loosen the 4 outer subframe bolts. Use a transmission jack to support the rear of the subframe. Use a 17mm on the impact to finish removing the rear subframe bolts. Loosen the front bolts, but do not remove completely. Continuing to use the 17mm, remove the 2 L brackets on each side of the subframe. Drop the subframe a few inches until you're able to pull the exhaust apart and you have access to the power steering lines. Use a 10mm socket to loosen the power steering line mounts. Use needle nose pliers to help remove the clips. Use a 21mm end wrench to loosen the inlet line nut and remove. Use a 10mm socket, loosen the bracket bolt of the return line. Then remove the return line hose. Using a 14mm socket on the pneumatic ratchet, loosen the bolts of the steering rack brackets. Use that same 14mm socket to remove the other two mounts. Now remove the steering rack out of the driver's side of the vehicle. Remove the rubber mounting sleeve. Use a 17mm socket to remove the return line adapter. Use 19mm and 24mm end wrenches to remove the outer tie rod. Both sides need to be removed. Now we are ready to set up the new rack. Remove the protective cover of the inner tie rod and reinstall the original outer tie rods. Use the 19mm and 21mm wrenches to tighten the outer tie rods. Remove the temporary plug off the oil return. Clean the oil return fitting with brake cleaner. Install the oil return fitting and use a 17mm socket to tighten. Reinstall the original rubber sleeve. Next, slide the new rack into the install position. Remove the protective sleeve at the end of the input shaft. Install the positioning tab. And install the dust cover. Start to reinstall the steering rack mounts. Use a 14mm socket to tighten. There are 3 mounts and 6 bolts to tighten after all the hardware is ran on. Torque these 4 bracket bolts to 94 Nm or 70 foot-pounds. The torque for the half-round bracket is 50 Nm or 37 foot-pounds for those 2 bolts. Remove the oil inlet shipping plug. Then install the inlet line. Use a 21mm end wrench to tighten the inlet. Install the oil return line. Use a 10mm socket to tighten the return line bracket. Use a 10mm socket to tighten the power steering lines to the subframe. Push the clip back into position. And install the 10mm on the other side. Reinstall the mid-pipe back onto the exhaust. Lift the jack and hand start the rear subframe bolts. Put the L brackets back into place and start the bolts. Use a 17mm on the impact to tighten all the subframe bolts. Torque the 4 main subframe bolts to 110 Nm or 81 foot-pounds. And the side bracket bolts to 74 Nm or 55 foot-pounds. Lower and remove the transmission jack. Install the lower engine mount bolts. Tighten with impact. And then torque to 80 Nm or 59 foot-pounds. Reinstall the exhaust hardware. Use a 15mm socket to tighten. Lower the vehicle and move the outer tie rods back into position and hand start the nuts. Install with a 19mm on the impact and reinstall the cotter pins. Repeat the process on the other side of the vehicle. Place a wheel back onto the hub and hand start the lug nuts. Use a 17mm socket to pre-tighten. Lower the vehicle and then torque to 130 Nm or 96 foot-pounds. Remove the power steering fluid cap and fill power steering fluid. Install the steering column universal joint. Hand start the bolt, then use a 10mm socket to tighten the hardware. Install the plastic protective cover. Put the prop rod away and then close your hood.